Okay, back to work yesterday. Reviewed film. Obviously, lots of lessons learned and some good stuff, some not so good stuff. But went out right to work with a really good attitude, understanding what's ahead of us and the opportunity that we have this Saturday. And back to regular work tomorrow. Again, back to regular Tuesday, Wednesday. So that being said, open to questions.
Right here on the right, Ryan.
Mario, when you went back and looked at the offensive line play on film, what did you see?
In the run game, inconsistent. We knew it was going to be a challenge with their movements and their stunts. We'd like to stick with the run game more. The way the game started playing out, we saw ourselves in a situation we're going to throw the ball a lot more. In the first half, I believe we ran it 7 times for maybe 3 or 4 yards. In the second half, you'd like to run it more and take control of the game. We ended up running, I think, was 15, 16 times for 55 some odd yards. Not up to our standard, but felt like there were some. We started getting a couple of chunk plays. And a couple of hit and miss situations where it was either -1 or plus 10 or 12, 0 yards, 8 yards. But that's the way it works when you play against that defense a little bit due to the line sense. So we got to do a better job coaching our guys to handle that kind of stuff. But overall, it was up and down. There were some positives, but certainly, some things that we need to improve upon.
On the left here, Eric.
How'd you make it out from an injury perspective? And I don't think I've seen Brian Addison at practice for a couple weeks. I'm just curious if there's an update on that.
Yeah, well, the injuries as it relates to the game is Isaac Slade sustained a shoulder. When we were getting some work done on him, an MRI, some X-rays or whatnot. CJ got banged up, hip flexor. I think he's going to be okay. He seems like he's going to be okay. Braxton Burmeister is full go. Austin Faliu, I don't think he had any setbacks. We always kind of get a better feel for that Tuesday or Wednesday. Players are sore. In terms of Brian Addison, Brian is serving an in-team suspension for violation of team policy. And, he's part of the team, but he will be practicing with the team within a couple of weeks as long as he abides by what he needs to.
Back here on the right, Hayden.
Coach, your former head coach, Nick Saban, is famous for saying success is not a continuum. Was Saturday kind of the perfect example of that after what you guys had experienced here at home against the Huskies?
Well, I don't know if it's that as much as it is understanding, that every single week it's going to get harder. It's going to get more difficult, and your margin of error becomes smaller and smaller. We prepared well. They are a good football team. It was a tale of 2 different halves, which is obvious, right, as the day is long. I mean, heck, in the first half, we have 18 offensive snaps. 18, for I forget what it was. I think it was 40 yards, if that. In the second half, we have 50-plus snaps at 300 yards or just under 300 yards. That's more along the lines of the way we operate. So, and the same thing on the defense. It's polar opposites, the first half versus the second half. I mean, the second half, we gave about 290 in the first half, but holding 100 in the second half, one of them being that big pass that Javon almost was able to take out. So it's more along the lines of it took us an entire half to adjust, and I want to say wake up. Our guys were trying. I think we were more focused. We were more aggressive in our style of play, and that's we got to coach that better. You feel you prepared good enough, you feel you've done the right things, but when you have a half like that, you point the finger at yourself and you say we've got to do a much better job. Now the positive is that there was a response, and a strong one that put us in a situation where it became a 1-score game after fighting our way back into that game at 27-20. And we have to train for that response to come much sooner, to not let it snowball. College football momentum is the biggest animal there is, right? Well, they had the momentum completely in the first half. And it wasn't until the end of the first half that we started generating some yards and almost some points. And then we took the momentum in the second half and, had to be darn near perfect to make it completely work. But certainly some positives in the way the team performed in the second half.
Mario, I assume you're preparing for 2 quarterbacks this week.
Mm-hmm.
Just how different are Rodriguez and Khalil Tate, and what challenge does that present, not really knowing who you're going to see?
Yeah, well, they're both different. I think we've seen their traits and, and what they do, how they run the offense, but they're both very effective in what they do. So you're preparing for 2 really good football players. one that obviously was always talking the Heisman race, and Khalil Tate and Rodriguez being the son of a coach, you could tell in his demeanor and his poise and the way he operates. And then you add the fact that he's really talented. That's one heck of a football player. It's done a really nice job. Their offense has continually gotten better and better and better as the weeks go by. So they're complemented by a tremendous running game as well. Their running backs will make you miss. They're explosive. They'll create big chunk plays as well, explosive plays. So running behind an offensive line that is long, athletic. So they present some challenges. One that our defense, obviously we're very eager to get back to play, but knowing that we have to prepare, to do so, to play well.
Back here, Matt. Matt left.
Mario, there's a report out on Sunday about Justin saying he's leaning towards coming back to school for his senior season. Have you had discussions with him about that yet? And why would you advise a guy to go pro early, or why would you advise a guy to come back to school?
Well, I mean, that's those kind of discussions are something that's private and will take place at certain times throughout the year. In terms of advising guys, you advise them with honesty as it relates to real factual information. Remember, there's an advisory committee that does provide you with information as to where a guy stacks up with the rest of the prospects for the NFL draft. But then you also have to weigh what are the goals and objectives for your student athletes, right? Because different strokes for different folks. Everyone has a different career path or different goals in mind as it relates to their high school or their college and their pro career, potential pro career. So all those factors are taken into account. Families are involved, but it's done the right way. It's done with information. It's done with logical thinking, and but there is a process, and there is one in place. And I feel that with the people we have in the building, we have a really airtight one that will give the guys the best possible advice we can give them.